Well, they could look like anything. It wouldn't describe a person's features or how they look.
I think it's difficult to say what a drug addict looks like. I think it's something that lots of people would say that they think they know, but I think there's also plenty of hidden drug addicts, because you know, it could be someone on the street who's addicted to something, but there can also be people addicted to prescription drugs or alcohol, and that's not always as visible, so it's difficult to say. I guess that's really hard to say, because I don't think an addict necessarily looks a certain way. I think there's people that are battling with addiction that don't look like you would expect. I don't know. I guess people have a preconception of what they think someone with an addiction looks like, but there's probably a lot of highly functioning people that have these addictions that you just wouldn't know about because they cover it up. So I almost don't feel comfortable saying an addict looks like this, because I don't think that's a fair statement, because I think an addict can look like anyone and you just wouldn't know.
What an addict looks like? I don't know really, like it could be anyone, like, because you got people like really rich business people that will have the money to buy, like, you know, cocaine or whatever they want to touch, so like it could be anyone. Obviously I guess like the common look is quite ragged, like the common misconception, like you get a load of like homeless people that like walk about and everyone's like, oh, but you hear some people say like, oh, they've obviously had a rough night, etc. But it could be anyone, absolutely anyone.
Well, an addict doesn't look like anything. It's not a stereotype. It's actually anyone who could be addicted to doing anything, whether it's speaking to your mates, or whether it's having your cup of coffee in the morning, or whether it's, you know, hard drugs. People are addicted to a lot of things, so you couldn't really classify it as any one particular stereotype, I don't would have thought.
I think an addict could look like anything. There's no certain characteristics an addict might have. Anyone could be an addict, and I don't think anyone could tell an addict apart from anyone else in the street. They could be look like anything.
I think an addict, it just looks like a human being, because there's so many different types of addict. What people think an addict looks like, a stereotypical addict, or someone who's let an addiction control and ruin their life and become their main feature, is maybe a tramp, or maybe someone who lives on the street, maybe someone who looks a bit like myself, to be honest. But there's so many different types of addicts. There's plenty of business people who work in offices that drink a bottle of wine a night. They're an addict. So maybe it's more like, what does a functional addict look like, and what does a chronic addict look like? And I think they're two different things, you know. I mean, people who have got an addiction maybe under control or so forth, that are addicted to a prescription drug, they can look like anybody. But someone who has let an addiction ruin their lives kind of looks like someone who just lives for their substance.
Absolutely not. I don't think they receive enough support. I think often drug addiction isn't treated as a mental health issue, which I think it should be. And also it varies, I think, between different services as to what their support they're given, and yeah, there's a whole range of problems.
It's very difficult to think that there are enough services for people addicted to drugs and anything else. There's lots of cuts in all areas of services, and there's a lot of people who are struggling with these things, and I think it would be good if we could expand the services available in those areas. The government that are in power at the moment I'm not a fan of, but it seems like they keep cutting things here, there and everywhere, so I'm assuming that addicts probably don't get the support that they need. I don't know much about it, to be honest, but from what I can tell, there's a lot of services that get cut, and I would assume that addiction is part of that. So ultimately, if I'm looking at what I know, I'd probably say, yeah, there's not as many services as there should be, and there's not maybe the support that people need.
Well, I've seen like drug support units, like charities and stuff about, but obviously you do hear a lot about drug problems still. I think there could be more support, especially in Bristol, from what I've heard, but I couldn't really answer that one properly. I don't really know too much about it. I guess awareness is something that needs to be brought out more to people, especially young people in Bristol who, like, especially when they move here, people who don't participate in drugs can then obviously sort of slip into that little slope there.
Addicts, essentially, the only way they can really be helped is by wanting to receive the help themselves. Some addicts aren't really prepared for it. And you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped at the end of the day. So in terms of reaching out, it's all on the individual to be able to want to do it and be able to notice that what is his behaviour is essentially problematic, and he has to deal with the issues accordingly, as opposed to, you know, putting the pressure on systems and government to put that stuff in place. It's actually for people to make it an issue and really put it out there for themselves and really put a movement across.
I think that there's not enough support from the government and help from sort of councils and things. I think they could probably give a lot more support. Also in terms of social help, help getting off their addictions. I feel like they're kind of treated not the nicest by society. Where they have an addiction, it's not their fault. Often it's just circumstantial. But I do think there's a lot of charities which do a lot of work, and really grateful for their existence, but there's not enough being done.
In terms of services for addicts, there is a lot of support out there, but the one thing with addiction is it's very much up to the person who has the habit, you know. So no one can you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, you know. You can't force someone to be in treatment. So I think if someone wants to get rid of their addiction or wants to control it, then it is there. Maybe it's more obvious, the support for people with chronic addictions, than the support for people with function addicts, you know. I don't think there is much said about people who drink a lot but continue to work and do all that. So, yeah, I think there's support out there. It's just if you want it, really, you know, and it's up to the addict to get it.